Major airlines like American Airlines have figured out how to install ADS-BN. Every new Gulfstream has ADS-BN. And of course, the Rotor Act only requires ADS-BN for planes flying into busy airspace. A crop duster flying in Arkansas isn't going to need it and won't be affected. But if that crop duster decides to land at DCA Reagan, then it should have the technology and not be endangering the lives of passengers flying into and out of Reagan every day.
Okay, pause. Did you just hear that? Because I need you to really pay attention to what just happened in that clip. That was Senator Ted Cruz grilling an NTSB official about one of the most preventable aviation disasters in recent American history. 67 people. 67 souls who got on a plane or a helicopter and never came home. And the whole time, the technology to save them existed. It was available for $400. Now I know Ted Cruz is a divisive figure, and that's fine. We can have that conversation. But set that aside for a minute. What you're about to watch is a senator doing exactly what a senator is supposed to do. Holding agencies accountable, pushing legislation that actually matters, asking the hard questions. Watch the full video. Pay attention to the moment he holds up that receiver. Pay attention to the numbers. And ask yourself, why hasn't this been done already? If you're new here, subscribe. We talk real politics, no fluff, no spin. Drop a comment before you watch and tell me, did you even know ADS-B and technology existed before today? Let's go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The NTSB conducted a thorough investigation into this accident. What did the NTSB investigation show about what would have happened if both aircraft had been equipped with ADS-BN?
The accident wouldn't have happened. At 48 seconds, the helicopter crew would have gotten an oral alert. They could have taken evasive action. And the flight crew of 5342 at 59 seconds could have had an alert that allowed them to take evasive action. So we have recommended ADS-B in everywhere there is ADS-B out for all aircraft.
As you know, the bipartisan Rotor Act, which passed out of this committee and which has passed to the Senate unanimously, every Republican, every Democrat has voted for it, mandates ADS-B in and out on aircraft flying into congested airspace. In your professional judgment, if the Rotor Act had been the law at the time of this accident, would the accident have occurred?
No. It wouldn't have occurred, though this helicopter route shouldn't have existed, but that's another story. No, I don't believe it would have occurred.
Well, and as you know, that's another component of the Rotor Act is mandating a reassessment of helicopter routes as well. ADS-B out and in is not new technology. Today, the FAA only requires ADS-B out, which sends signals directly to air traffic control. In 2010, the agency chose not to require ADS-B in, which would have given pilots those same signals. Nonetheless, some aviators voluntarily use ADS-B in, receiving weather, traffic, and other information in the cockpit. American Airlines, for example, has equipped nearly 30% of its fleet with ADS-B in. More than 80% of private pilots use some form of ADS-B in. It is clearly a popular technology. I've heard a handful of special interest groups, however, want carve-outs from an ADS-B in requirement. I don't think a private jet or a charter flight flying into DCA or Dulles or DFW should be able to adhere to a lower safety standards than a passenger airline. Special treatment for them would put everyone else's lives at risk. Others have said that all of general aviation should be exempt, even though pilots in rural areas are already exempted, and the Rotor Act protects general aviation's ability to use portable transponders. In your judgment, should different aircraft be flying into congested area using different ADS-B safety rules?
No, absolutely not. It's a shared airspace.
Those same skeptics like to claim that ADS-B in is too costly. Major airlines like American Airlines have figured out how to install ADS-BN. Every new Gulfstream has ADS-BN. And of course, the Rotor Act only requires ADS-BN for planes flying into busy airspace. A crop duster flying in Arkansas isn't going to need it and won't be affected. But if that crop duster decides to land at DCA Reagan, then it should have the technology and not be endangering the lives of passengers flying into and out of Reagan every day. In your judgment, is it too expensive for planes to install ADS-BN?
$400. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a headset. $400. Maybe you get an iPad. It's a little more expensive, but that isn't costly. American Airlines, less than $50,000 a plane to retrofit. The plane was out of service, they told me, 1 or 2 days when they retrofitted it. Each plane.
So I want you to repeat that, because one of the concerns people are raising is this is some onerous government mandate. A private pilot can get the equipment necessary, A, to keep himself or herself safer, B, to keep everyone else flying into that congested airplace safer. They can get that equipment for $400.
You already have a headset. Everybody has a phone. Some people have iPads. $400. This is the receiver.
Another objection that has been raised is the claim that somehow the military should be exempt, that the military should be able to fly in congested airspace and not be subject to the rules everyone else is. Does that make any sense?
No, it does not.
Well, 100 members of the United States Senate agree with you. The Secretary of War agrees with you. The Secretary of Transportation agrees with you. And I am hopeful that within the next 2 weeks, the House of Representatives will put the Rotor Act on the floor, will pass it, and will put it on President Trump's desk for signature. We owe it to the families of those who lost their lives, the 67 souls who should be with us today. If only Congress had listened to the first 16 times the NTSB recommended ADS-BN. Thank you.
I know you don't have any more time, but can I?
Sure.
He's the chair.
I know you, yeah. Can I have one thing to point out?
You could have two.
Okay, thank you. In 2001, the FAA had a rulemaking on fractional ownership. And they stated in there that passengers who are transported under Parts 121 and Part 135, quote, exercise no control over and bear no responsibility for the airworthiness or operation of the aircraft aboard which they are flown. I would also say that applies to Part 91 revenue generating passenger operations. The FAA concluded that the appropriate level of public safety is provided by very stringent regulations and oversight under Part 121 and Part 135. In Ketchikan, in 2019, we stated that that aircraft without ADS-B do not demonstrate the appropriate level of safety for passenger carrying operations conducted under Part 135 regulations. And we also stated that there's shared airspace between 121, 135, and GA. We've conducted numerous investigations between Part 121 airlines and GA aircraft, or GA aircraft carrying passengers who paid for a service with other GA aircraft, or between 135s and 121s, or 135 and GA. The fact is, everyone should be under the same rules. One level of safety, because it doesn't matter if you're in a private plane, a commercial jet is also operating in your airspace. Sorry.
Thank you. Ranking Member Cantwell.
Thank you.
All right, you've seen the whole thing now. Let me tell you why this video has been living rent-free in my head. First, look at how Cruz structured his argument. He didn't grandstand. He didn't make it about himself. He came in with a specific technology, a specific bill, a specific cost, and a specific death toll. That is someone who did their homework. And in a chamber full of people who clearly read nothing before these hearings, that stands out. The core argument is simple. ADS-B in technology exists. It's cheap. It works. The NTSB recommended it 16 times over the years. 16. And Congress sat on its hands while the FAA quietly decided in 2010 not to mandate it. So when that helicopter and that passenger jet entered the same airspace near Reagan National, neither crew had the alert that could have told them to move. 67 people died. Here's what really got me, though. The pushback Cruz is describing from special interest groups. Private jets wanting carve-outs. Charter flights wanting exemptions. The military apparently arguing they should fly into congested civilian airspace without the same rules as everyone else. You're telling me a corporate jet thinks it deserves a lower safety standard than the American Airlines flight sitting right next to it in the same sky? That is indefensible. Cruz nailed it. This is shared airspace. It doesn't matter what tail number you have or who owns the plane. When something goes wrong at 300 knots, everybody pays the price. The idea that wealth or military status buys you a pass on basic collision avoidance technology is exactly the kind of thinking that gets people killed. And apparently did. Now, the $400 moment. This is where every excuse falls apart. He literally holds up the receiver and says, "You've already got a headset, you've already got a phone. Maybe you've got an iPad." $400. For a private pilot, that's a nice dinner out. For American Airlines, it's under $50,000 per plane with 1 to 2 days out of service. In aviation terms, that is nothing. The cost argument was always weak and Cruz dismantled it in about 30 seconds. The bipartisan support for the Rotor Act is also worth noting. Every Republican, every Democrat in the Senate voted for it. The Secretary of Transportation supports it. The Secretary of Defense supports it. At this point, the House passing it should be a formality. But the moment I keep coming back to is the NTSB official at the end, adding his own point unprompted. He's talking about FAA rulings going back to 2001. His conclusion is simple: one level of safety, everyone, no exceptions. Because when you're a passenger on a commercial flight, you have zero control over what happens. You are placing complete trust in the system. And that system failed 67 people because of bureaucratic inertia and lobbying. Ted Cruz has his critics. I get it. But on this issue, on this day, in that hearing room, he was right. The Rotor Act is right. ADS-B is right. And the families of those 67 people deserve to see it signed into law. If this video made you think, share it. Send it to someone who flies. Send it to someone who thinks aviation safety has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with all of us. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.